One of the best parts of the LEGO system is how playable it is. We've all flown our Star Wars spaceships and Ninjago dragons around, and since it's May the 4th, I wanted to start a LEGO project that focused on how fun play can be. That's why I'm building a LEGO Star Wars board game that blends my love of LEGO building with an equal love of playing games like Dungeons and Dragons with my friends. So grab your LEGO dice, roll for initiative, and let's get building. Since this is a board game, I wanted this build to be transportable, so I'm going to be building 5 modular sections using the smaller 32 by 32 stud base plates. This game is going to be based on the Mandalorian series because it's super fun, and today we're going to start by tackling 3 of those sections, which include the New Republic quadrant, the Mandalorian quadrant, and a middle section which will be a sort of shop. But before we get building, I think it would be helpful to know the basic rules of the board game so my build decisions make sense. If you like LEGO and board games, make sure you subscribe to the channel because this MOC is just a test run for a LEGO project I want to build on a much larger scale. So I designed this game to be a combination of one of my favorite games, Disney Villainous, with base defense mechanics similar to Minecraft Bed Wars and a touch of Dungeons and Dragons roleplay flair. This is a 4-player game and each player gets a base, a minifigure, and a companion, and those 4 teams are the Mandalorian and Grogu, the New Republic, the Imperial Remnant, and the Bounty Hunter Guild. Each player has a nemesis, an opponent they have to work against the whole game. For example, the New Republic's nemesis is the Imperial Remnant, and throughout the game, each player has the option to also have an ally and a team up. Your ally and your team up are ways that a player can interact with others in game through roleplay to achieve their goals and trade for better items. For example, if I'm the Mandalorian and I know I need to cross the Bounty Hunter Guild territory, I can ask them to be my ally for the duration of the game. You can only have one ally the whole game, and if your ally wins, you win too, so there's a reason to help out your friends. On the other hand, if you have an ally but need to cross through someone else's territory without getting attacked, you can make a temporary teammate alliance or a team up. This teammate alliance is non-binding and can be broken at any time in game, unlike your ally, so if you're feeling a little devious, you can backstab your teammate when the time is right. These are the 3 relationships you can have with your opposing players, your nemesis, your ally, and your teammate, and you can always attempt to trade, barter, or in general roleplay with the other players. Each player has 2 goals, and completing either goal will win you the game. You can either destroy the base of your nemesis, or you can achieve your own personal goal. For example, the Bounty Hunter Guild needs to complete 5 bounties from their bounty deck. Before we get into the build, the last thing I want to talk about is the dice, and if you're old like me, you probably remember a LEGO theme from a few years ago called LEGO Games, where the LEGO group actually produced a bunch of board games you could fully build with LEGO bricks. These sets were awesome, and honestly, I really miss this theme with the super fun board games like Heroica, and recently we've seen some more LEGO board games like Monkey Palace, which is super fun, and I hope we see more products like that in the future. But the reason I bring up this old theme is this piece. The LEGO group actually made a dice piece that you can attach tiles to and create a working rolling dice, which is really cool. And for this board game, we're going to be using one of these dice with 4 different colors, each representing an action point that players will roll for to store in their inventory to be used at any point in the game. The red tile is an attack point, the green tile is a loot point, the purple tile is an enhance point, and the blue tile is a force point, which allows you to draw a force card, and you can hold up to 3 of those cards at any time. Each turn, a player will roll the action point dice 3 times and store those points in their inventory, and they'll also roll 3d6 to determine how far they get to move that turn. Okay, we've gone over enough rules for now. Let's take a look at some of the build progress. The first module I built was the central section where the game's shop will be, a place where players can trade their extra action points or looted credits for weapons and force cards, which are represented here with this Pokemon card. Force cards can be game-changing, like the World Between Worlds card, which allows you to return home to your base at any time. This could save your base if your nemesis is over there doing some damage, and you can pop back over there real quick to stop him. The shop is run here by an Ardinian. This minifigure is actually real from Solo: A Star Wars Story, but in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, it looks like an Ardinian will be running the little shop, so I thought this would be a fun reference to the movie. Plus, I think it's incredibly funny that the shopkeeper character is voiced by Martin Scorsese, so this little guy's name is going to be Martin. The shop sits on top of an island in a lava river. This MOC is based on Navarro, which is a planet that is prominently featured in the Mandalorian show, and Navarro is covered in dark rocky plains and flowing magma. This is a really simple technique, just covering the red and orange bricks below with some black and gray wedge plates, but I think it creates a really fun, cracked looking effect for the lava river. Most of this build isn't tiled off, and that's intentional. I want pretty much everywhere to be a walkable space for players, and each stud is a place you can put your minifigure or your companion. You'll also notice these white bridges. Navarro is full of white and tan buildings, which contrast against the dark landscape, so I added these little bridges in white for players to cross the river to shop on the island. You'll also see some white jumper plates. Those are lootable locations, and I'll explain how looting works when I get to the next module. This middle section will act as the central hub for the game and feature many of the NPCs you can either attack, recruit, or interact with. Speaking of NPCs, I built this weird astromech droid with the arms and legs from season 1 of The Mandalorian, Mandalorian, and I used the R2-D2 body and the head of DD1 from Young Jedi Adventures. And y'all, I know that show is for a much younger audience, but it is so cute and you should definitely watch it. It's like Bluey for Star Wars. But I'm really happy with how this guy turned out. I think an astromech with legs is so silly, but I will be recruiting this guy for my team when I play the game. Every NPC will be interactable, except Martin the shopkeeper. He is unfortunately stuck at work. Speaking of NPCs, let's move over to the New Republic module, the second section of the board game for today. I'm saving my favorite module for last, the Mandalorian's Homestead, so make sure you stick around until the end of the video for that. But this is the first module with a player base on it, and it's also the first location to have 2 NPC buildings, which are going to be common throughout the whole build. There are 2 buildings here, both built keeping the white architecture of Navarro in mind. The first one is a workshop for the Anzellans, or the little Babu Frick guys. I really like how this little building turned out, using lots of round pillars and shallow dishes for the roof, and it's the perfect size for a little guy to store some loot. Now, since this shop is so tiny, you'll actually have to send your companion in to loot it, much like how you have to swap it to a character with shorter legs in the LEGO games to go through certain doors. Inside each of these buildings, you'll find some of those white jumper plates, and on top of them, there'll be a few items for the player to loot. Players can spend a green action point to loot an item on top of a jumper plate as long as they're within 2 studs of the item. You can use a purple enhance point alongside your green loot point to extend your looting range. Looting buildings across the board is going to be vital to the safety of your base because you're going to need some defenses to protect yourself from your nemesis. Alongside weapons, credits, and extra action points, when players are looting, they can find turrets and shields that can be used to defend their base from attackers. Let's head over to the New Republic base to explain how base defense works. I built a little X-Wing for the New Republic's base. I could have used a microfighter, but I thought it would be a fun challenge to build the ship myself, and I think it turned out pretty good for being the first thing I built for this project. Inside the cockpit, you'll see a blue Chima crystal. This is the New Republic base core, which you want to protect at all costs. Below the X-Wing are 2 half circles. These are purely in places of visual reference for the player. The inner circle marks the outline of the base. In order for an opposing player to do damage to this base, their minifigure has to be standing on or inside this ring. The outer ring marks the defense zone, and in between the 2 white half circles, players can place turrets, shields, or other structures they've looted during gameplay. In order for your nemesis to do any damage to your base, they first have to destroy every defense you've set up in your defense zone. Turrets have 1 health point, and when they're destroyed, they do 1 point of damage to the minifigure that destroyed the turret. Now that I think about it, I should probably explain how damage works. Players can use a red action point to attack pretty much anything on the board with their minifigure. You can use a purple enhance point alongside your red attack point to do 1 extra damage to your target. Your minifigure has 4 health points, and NPCs have 2 health points and deal 2 damage when they die. If NPCs lose all their health points, they are sent to the graveyard and can only be brought back with the use of a Force Ghost card. And if your minifigure loses all of their health points, they're sent back to your base and have to start their journey all over again. Luckily, there are armor and weapon items that you can loot across the board to make sure your minifigure is a little more tanky. Okay, back to base defense. Besides the turrets, you can also defend your base with shields, which have 3 health points but don't deal any damage when they're destroyed. The shields also have to be destroyed before any other defenses, like how we often see characters in Star Wars needing to destroy a shield generator before they can really start their battle. So if I were playing this with my friends, I personally would try to loot 4 turrets and 1 shield pretty early to defend my base, because your base only has 4 health points. When a turret or other defense structure is destroyed, a player who wasn't involved in the battle gets to place the item back onto the board onto a lootable plate that isn't in the same module they're currently standing in. Let's just say you really want to get out there to loot some structures and defend your base. Structures can also be purchased from Martin at the store for a couple credits or action points. This module also has some similar lava river pockets, and I added 1 other structure as well, so you have some more lootable areas. Lastly, the New Republic's minifigure is Hera, and her companion is a little BB-8. I know that it should be Chopper, but I wanted her companion to be a similar size to Grogu, and Chopper is much bigger. Okay, it's finally time to head over to my favorite section of the build, the Mandalorian module. For the Mandalorian and Grogu's base, I built the Mandalorian's Homestead, which I thought would be a fitting place for him to defend, and also ties in with a new movie coming out, at least as far as I can tell. I'm actually really happy with how this little mini homestead turned out. I tried to keep the main details of the Mandalorian's home just in a smaller scale to fit on the game board, like the angular architecture and the little fabric roof for shade, which I used a regular brown minifigure cape for. I added a couple of lanterns and details for the front, and I also made sure you could actually slide open the door to reveal the Mandalorian's base core, a little blue crystal, maybe a kyber crystal for Grogu. I made a little bench too, but it took up a little too much space in the defense zone, so I'll have to leave it off to the side for now. Besides a few more lava rivers in the area, I also built a little burnt up tree that I'm pretty proud of, and it adds a bit more life to the Mandalorian's yard and another lootable location. Lastly, I want to add a mini Razor Crest or N1 Starfighter over here. I'm thinking, since I'm a bit low on time, that I might use the new Razor Crest polybag from the Mandalorian movie. I think it looks pretty good. Even though it's going to be way out of scale, it would be effective enough for the game. Of course, if you're playing the Mandalorian, your companion is little Grogu, and Grogu wouldn't be satisfied if he didn't have a little frog to eat. I've mentioned force cards a few times, and those are going to be the only non-LEGO element for this board game. I thought about making them out of LEGO bricks too, but it's kinda hard to shuffle LEGO plates. So as a compromise, I decided I would try to build the art for each card and then print them out with the help of my girlfriend. She makes custom K-pop photo cards and is going to help me print out some really clean cards for the game. Here's an example of some card art. This is the World Between Worlds card, and we're going to print this out onto some paper and then add a little bit of explanation text as well. I'm still working out some of the rules and gameplay mechanics, and obviously I have 2 more modules to build, so let me know in the comments if there's anything you want to see me add to the game. We'll be finishing the Battle of Navarro in the next part of this series, and if you want to see me do a full playthrough with my friends, make sure you have notifications on and like the video. There are only a few weeks left until the Mandalorian and Grogu premieres, and I'm super excited for that movie to come out and show you my first ever LEGO board game mock. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and share this video with a friend who loves gaming. Happy Star Wars Day, everyone. May the 4th be with you, and remember, it's always a beautiful day in the Brickstorm.